Hello, and welcome back to the Poorly Written Podcast, the only podcast on the internet where I can screw up the intro as many times as I want, and I'm still going to stay one take. That was one take, right?
We got it right the first time.
We got it right the first time. Anything else is just propaganda. That's it. Propaganda against the show. Anyways, fake news. Don't trust the media, even though I uploaded to our official accounts, which you should follow anyways. It's fake news.
Completely fake.
It's really fake news. Today I have Xavier on from X After Hours. You can say hi.
Hello, everyone.
So, it's a one-on-one episode. You don't see a lot of these going on here, so I guess it's a treat. It's a little busy on St. Patty's Day for some people and some other issues, but we're not getting into that.
Oh man, I forgot the green beer, man.
I'm disappointed too because I had a chance to go grab the green beer and I didn't. So.
Oh man.
Oh well. Oh well. I'll try again next year. Never had the green beer once, and I'm still going.
Yeah, me either.
Anyway, not a beer drink. We'll talk about that later, maybe. I don't know. This is just a one-on-one. It's nice. We have some of those this season. So, Xavier, you want to kind of let's get into your background a little bit.
Oh man, where do I start? Probably at the beginning. So, once upon a time, there was this guy who met this girl, and they decided they loved each other. And oh wait, that's probably too far back. Let's kind of.
No. I was totally invested. What happened? What did they do?
Sicily, 1947. Like the old grandma from the Golden Girls. Kind of settle into the story. Anyway, no. So I guess the important part is that I was born in April of many years ago. I'm almost 30. So if you guys want to do your math, that's 1990 for our mathematicians out there.
Well, I'm bad at math, so.
Actually, that actually means I can't count because I'm already 30. I'm about to be 31. In fact,
you're still
already messed up.
You're still stuck in 2020. You still think it's March of last year.
You want to refer last year? I think of 2019 or 2019. That's exactly. Yeah,
that's how messed up last year was. Is that our brains go back? Our brains go back to the last point of normal, which was 2019.
I think it's going to be a perpetual Taylor Swift story. My mind goes back to December of 2019.
Not the Taylor Swift.
I know. All right. So I am I guess I'm going to say a constitutional democratist attorney. Basically, what that means is I practice and try cases that will eventually be suited for a state Supreme Court and eventually can be passed on to the United States Supreme Court. And all I do is help go through the litigation process, help file the paperwork, all that kind of stuff, and put them to the test. And then I also handle private human rights cases as well before the state legislature or before the state Supreme Court as well. That sounds. Go ahead.
Okay, because I don't think we've had a lawyer on the show.
Wow.
Whoa, very interesting. I did not know that. I just you sent me the info and I looked over and I'm like, he seems fun. He does some commentary. Little did I know I'd bring on a legal mind.
So it's important that I suggest that none of the advice given from me is considered legal advice, by the way. So don't.
If anybody takes anything that anybody says seriously in this podcast, that's their own fault. I'm going to put that in the show notes now. It's like, if you actually do any of this shit that I've said in this podcast, you're a moron legally. You were legally stupid.
That's it. So if you want a reference of kind of what I do, you can look at the most recent impeachment hearings for the Senate trial for Trump. Only I know how to say Philadelphia, and I don't get offended when people laugh.
And you know how to say insurrection too, right?
Insurrection.
Chuck Schumer, he had a bit of a boner problem, so I mean,
his facial expression is what it is. Like he was like, "Ooh," I don't know if he was Maddie messed up, or he's like, "Oh, I kind of like the idea." But anyway, that's a whole other thing. I'm a graduate of Duke University. That's where I received my
Duke.
Yeah,
I'm
we're def-
First off, let me just say I'm a Syracuse fan, so it's a little
uh,
awkward all of a
okay.
sudden.
All right, guys. Good night, folks.
That's the whole show. I'm like, Duke, Duke, Duke.
Yeah, that's
You come
so
onto my
honestly,
show on a day of St. Patty's, with Syracuse being one of the top 5 Irish cities in the country, and you come and disrespect me.
I know, right?
Jeez,
Coming to the
whammies,
day of my
whammies,
daughter's
man.
wedding. I know it's raining all over the place, but I actually am one of three doctorate candidates that came through in a full scholarship. So what that means is I started in my bachelor's program, went it to my master's, got another bachelor's while I was doing my master's program, and transitioned to getting and graduating with my PhD, all under scholarship. So I owed exactly 35 cents in student debt when I left, which I obviously paid in pennies. Uh,
Did you cut the pennies in half too, just to be extra petty about it? Or
I did not, but they were not rolled. So of
oh,
course you can
okay.
never roll. So, but I found like what I did was I got them out of the fountain of the university, which
Oh,
I
that's
know that's a
smart.
terrible thing to say, but like there's a fountain there in a common area, and I went and got the grodiest pennies I could find.
Oh yeah, you picked
Uh,
up a dime by accident. It's like what the fuck? No.
no, that goes back. The reason was because they threatened to hold my diploma if I didn't pay that 36 cents within like the cutoff for graduation. And I thought,
Oh,
well, you guys make millions of dollars of overpricing this. And I could have printed this off from the internet. And
right.
so you're going to charge me for the paper and the privilege of graduating? Okay, sure.
Sure,
So,
whatever.
yes.
I mean, it
Wow.
sounds like Duke now. They're like, wait a minute, those were our pennies.
Those were our pennies. You paid us with our own money. Exactly right, my friend.
And you're welcome.
Because you obviously weren't going to get in there and get those pennies out of there.
First of all, what college campus has a fountain where people are just throwing money into it, and students aren't going in and trying to collect all the money? I mean, you
uh,
don't
I
you don't you don't need a very big magnet. You just need a very strong magnet. Just go through the fountain.
actually what they use for like what they fish, magnet fishing. The
Oh
big
yeah.
big fly that would work, I guess.
That would
That's terrible.
definitely work. You might pull up a little bit more than the pennies and the change, though. You might pull up a pipe or two if you're not careful.
Why not? They can fix it for it. They can afford to fix
They
it.
can afford to. It's Duke after all. I mean, how much are they paying those basketball players to come play? I mean, they're not. It's
Oh
not like
wait, yeah. Oh, wait a minute. That's
I said
yeah.
the wrong thing.
Well, they know they're not going to graduate, so why not use them while they're
Oh,
there?
you're right. The
Ouch!
school is
Gosh.
infamous for one semester tryouts. I mean,
Yeah, it's just like your entire career's a tryout, man. Sorry about you. You just gotta go. Uh,
it's just I could get into Duke basketball, but
you,
that's not the point of the episode. I didn't know
yeah,
that. You have a PhD? I mean,
I do. Yeah, that's
I have my bachelor's, but I just I feel like I'm punching above my weight class all of a sudden.
no, you're fine. And the thing about this is that because I'm so young and not old manish, I definitely don't. I hate being called doctor anything.
Right.
It drives me bananas. I'm like, please don't. I work for that title, yes, which means I have the innate ability to be like, hey, I don't want you to call me that. Thanks. That's
Yeah.
uh, and so, but now I teach. Go ahead.
It's just interesting because it's like I'm like because like all the people that I've met with doctor, they're like most of them are like really like have a hard on for it. They're like, you have to call me doctor, blah blah blah, and I'm like, you're
Ew.
teaching an 8 a.m. class, and this is a complete elective. I could just drop this and be fine. So I'm gonna call you Doctor Elective, and if you
Doctor
don't like
elective.
that, I'm just gonna leave.
I don't have to be here. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. You're too happy right now.
You have too much of a boner going on with your PhD. If you need to be left alone with your PhD, I will gladly leave the room and go grab breakfast.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I I have met with my peers, and the only time I use my official title is when I need to assert the fact that I'm like them. because I walk in wearing Chuck Taylors and, washed out dark jeans and, a nice button up and just kind of sit in the desk. So every semester, that's how my students get to know who I am. When I teach, the senior level classes, I just kind of sit in the desk like a student and I wait just to see what they're going to do. Just going to be like, and I'm like, well, where is this guy? He's late. And just to see who's going to stay, who's going to leave, kind of what's going to go on. And then when they start getting unsettled or they start leaving, then I'll kind of stand up and be like, hey, okay, so I guess I'll fill in for him. And I can always tell who didn't show up for the first few days of class because they walk in and they're like, where's the teacher? Like, wait a minute, you're the teacher?
Fooled you. You're in charge. It's like, yeah.
Well, they tell me anyway. I don't know.
That's what the paycheck says. So I am in charge. I mean,
yeah.
Until the paycheck stops or they tell me otherwise, I am in charge of this room between these hours.
Kind of feel like Milton sometimes from Office Space. Like,
yeah. It's got to be so weird, like being younger, like being somewhat younger than like some of your people that you work with, but then like you see these students, they're like you, and it's like, yeah.
yeah, that's not because some of them are actually, just achieving that same age, and they're like, you're done? Yeah, I'm done. There's an end, I promise. And one of the cool things about PhD is that you're a candidate for a certain amount of time until your research work is completed. And one of my, I guess mentors, he's like, dude, they're going to give you so much heck because you're so much younger. They're not going to approve you. They're not going to do it. I'm like, I bet you they are. I went to every one of them. I showed up at their houses and I was like, look, this is going to happen. I don't have another option. This is my option, and you're going to approve this. So finally they got it together, and it was a cool time. But now I teach basic politics for entry level folks, and then comparative politics, and now constitutional democracy. I'm actually the head of that department. So
that's pretty cool. He's just flexing on me, and I'm like, cool, I get to stay in my PJs all day today.
Yeah, I mean, hey, now in quarantine, I can do. Remember,
true, very true.
Pants are optional.
Pants are
definitely are.
Pants are very optional. I mean, I have the webcam on, but I do have pants on too.
So that's So I guess it's interesting to note that my class format is simply this: I don't give any homework assignments. They have a list of what we're going to discuss, and then we move our desks into a circle, and we discuss. We talk because I don't want to tell them what to think. I want to teach them how to think, and I want them to be able to defend their positions, whatever that might be. Even if I don't agree with them, even if they're not popular, I want you to be able to form a thought, stick to it, and prove your case based on facts, not something arbitrarily written on an opinion page.
Right, and that was the issue, like with some schools and stuff. It's like they just, I don't get the point of like getting all that homework out. The students and stuff, like they got other shit to do. Like they gotta some of them have to go work.
They do.
Or they got other classes, and then some of these professors are like, oh, by the way, you have to write like a 10-page essay. It's due in like 2 weeks. It's like, whoa.
Wow. So
and then you have to go and grade, and you have how many students? I mean,
yeah, I don't have time to read all that.
It's like
I tell them ahead of time, I'm not reading this.
I have to think sometimes, I'm like, with those professors, I'm like, you must hate yourself. Or hate someone. You must hate. Do you have a significant other? Because you must hate them for assigning that kind of crap.
There is a writing assignment in my class, just one, and it's a combination of every mid semester you do part of it, and the other part you do at the end of the semester for your final. Put them together, makes your final composition.
That's fine. It's when they're like, oh yeah, by the way, every 2 weeks, 10 pages. I'm like, first of all, the environment. Like fuck them, fuck them right? Trees, or
they're allowed one piece of paper, a single sheet of paper, and it's composed of every single discussion that we've had, and they all tie in together. So they basically have to create this 1-page essay of their argument and sell me on your idea in 1 page. And I expect 1-inch margins and a bibliography as well, and I don't want any fluff in there. So
you're just very straight to the point. It's like don't bullshit me, don't hype me up. Just get right to the point.
That's it.
I want the down and dirty on 1 page. You could cite all the shit you want. Just it's there.
Yeah, I just need to know that you can think and you can form an argument. and that's enough for me.
That's good. I'm completely off track. You threw me off guard with like, "Yo, I have a PhD. I teach, and I'm 30." And I'm like, "Wait." this whole rundown I have is just here. Let me just get rid of it.
That's okay.
It's like caught me off guard. I'm like, that doesn't happen. So there you go. 10 points to your house. I don't know what it is, but I'm sure you're in charge of it.
Definitely a Slytherin. Definitely a Slytherin.
I'm a Ravenclaw, so
I like Ravenclaw. So I wish I were a Ravenclaw.
I know. I keep taking the Pottermore quizzes just to be sure. It's like I kept getting Ravenclaw, so I'm like, all right, whatever, Ravenclaw, just me.
I wanted so hard to be a Gryffindor. I think
everybody wants to be a Gryffindor, and then most people are Hufflepuff, so it doesn't. The translation doesn't work out. It's like,
I think the only reason I wanted to be Gryffindor is because I look better in those colors. But
that's true. I mean,
that's really it. And they have the cooler common room, though.
They just thinking really hard how to put this. I got the better colors. I got the better common room. I mean, you know who's getting all the funding at Hogwarts.
But you guys have that observatory, though, right? The Ravenclaws. They have that.
I'm not like too deep into the Harry Potter lore. I just just know what house I am.
So I'm going to go ahead and tell you my comparative politics course is called Harry Potter and Political Theory. So basically, the whole course is wrapped and designed around the Harry Potter world. And I go through and teach them political theory using Harry Potter. So
that's pretty cool, though, because there is a lot of political undertones and themes you could pick out from Harry Potter. Like,
absolutely,
like between the books and the movies, like you can pick out quite a few themes and messages trying to get through. We don't have time to discuss that today, but I know it's there.
It's there.
It's there. Go back through and watch the Harry Potters for how many times you have, and tell me what ones you're picking up on.
Yeah.
So I guess I kind of want to get into your actual, like, the podcast that you do called X After Hours. So you kind of want to just tell people what that is about?
So that is basically a rant. It's a political rant. I just kind of I find things that kind of stick in little snippets, I guess, headline stuff, and just kind of go through that and kind of explain the best of my understanding and kind of the thought process behind those. And sometimes what happens is I get hot takes and I get a little excited. Language is definitely a little strong, but hey, that's why it's after hours, because I can take off my tie and kind of sit down and pour myself a drink, because God knows you need it when you're dealing with I don't nice words to say them with people who descend far to the one way or the other, with radicals maybe, or erectionists if you're Chuck Schumer.
We're gonna have some dick jokes going around. Hey, he started it, not me. I'm just.
I wonder. You ever wonder what? I guess what is his name? Dick Durbin. I wonder what he thought when he said erectionist.
I think when he said erection, and everybody's like, Chuck, what? Are you good? Chuck, you take your meds this morning? What's going on, man?
But anyways.
He didn't even correct himself. He just kept going too. Like, he kept going. I wonder if he realized he said erection, and then he's like, I'm just gonna keep going. Nobody heard me on C-SPAN. Nobody watches this channel, and then every late night host is like, guess what he said?
Right. I feel like I would have stopped and smiled, and then just kept reading, like just enough.
I guarantee you, like, there would have been enough senators to impeach Trump if he didn't say erection. The Republicans are like, he made a dick joke.
He made it.
He lost those 10 that were like, no.
My pearls. Did he just say dick? Oh my God.
It just completely threw him off. Great argument. Then he said, it's like, did he say erection?
Someone covered Ted Cruz's ears. Oh my gosh.
Why is Lindsey Graham smiling like that? Hey, stop it.
They don't talk like that in Cancun, I bet. Anyway, so I kind of go through political thoughts and kind of explain and give my hot takes on that. I also am a very, very big activist in equality, in not like chauvinistic or in I guess what mainstream equality, like true equality. Like, don't give me the appearance. I think Judge Judy said it best. She's like, don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining. And so I very straight shooter, and just kind of very direct, and it's just fun. It's a passion of mine, and it's a hobby. So
Yeah, because I noticed that like it doesn't matter who they are. It's like politician, guess what? In the crosshairs tonight. It
yeah,
doesn't matter.
that's
Like
it.
we've been making fun of Chuck Schumer this whole time.
Yeah,
I
I definitely don't go left or right. If you're an idiot, you're gonna get called out. If you do something stupid, you're gonna get called out.
Yeah, and that's the theme. I mean, granted, one side can be stupider than the other some weeks. It
Oh, sure.
depends. I mean, everybody has their days, and we don't always get to say erection on national television, but when you do, it's during the impeachment trials.
It's like I think about what they went through during that, sitting there as Ted Cruz is tweeting about breast milk, and other people were worried about what's going on Twitter, and I'm like, are you guys kidding me? You're supposed to be doing something. And then the poor lady from Alaska wore the wrong shoes because she was so frantic and worried, upset about it. Like it really like dauntingly, like she knew what she was just worried because she was going to vote she's going to vote what should have happened. She voted he was guilty.
Yeah.
And she was so frazzled by that because she knew her party wasn't going to stand by her. But the conviction came down to basically, am I willing to say that I'm guilty too for feeding into this BS? And
Yeah.
they weren't.
Yeah, granted, it was 7 Republicans or 7 people went against party lines to vote guilty.
Right.
In normal circumstances, when you have a majority, that usually means that like they're guilty or that they won or whatever. But it's interesting because people are like, why does it have to be vast majority? Why can't it just be like simple majority? I'm like, because then you could impeach every single president, and
Everybody.
you could just impeach everybody at that point.
Everybody. And so I understand why they needed a complex majority, but simple majority just wasn't enough for that. So I get it.
Yeah.
But
I
that
mean,
doesn't make
I guess the average person is like, wait, wouldn't that make him guilty? I'm like, in theory, but because they didn't reach the number, the
that
magic
number.
number, it's a no go. It's like you can win the football game, but you need to win by like 2 touchdowns and a field goal.
Right. Yeah, and so and that was expected. I don't think anybody going in there knew that they were actually. I mean, even his legal team, they knew they didn't prepare an argument. Not that they had one, but they basically sat down there and just like dug at the other side just because they could. So
Yeah, I mean, granted, it was a lot closer than I thought it was gonna be. I thought like Mitt Romney, maybe one more was going, but the fact
yeah,
that like 7 of them are like, nah, screw you, you're guilty, was very shocking to me.
Mitt Romney's his private parts still hurt. He's still bitter, but he lost the election. Cruz is mad he never got the bid. So there's that.
And Ted Cruz did blow a lead, so it's not like he blew a 3-1 lead. Like he had it, he just blew it.
He's a very punchable face, and I say that with as much affection as I can manage. But he's like the little kid or the kid in your school where you're just like, dude, get away from me.
Yeah,
And he thinks
he's
cool
a weird kid that just jumps into
Yeah,
every possible conversation. It's like, dude, no one invited you.
it's
And
kind of
it's
like
everybody
onion.
too. It's not just like one group of people. It's everybody. It's like, dude, who invited you?
Aren't you just sniffing glue in the corner, bro? Could you not?
Bro, I saw you try to sneak into the girls' locker room. What the fuck are you doing near me? Get away.
I was in there to make sure they weren't talking about anything that wasn't. Yeah, I'm sure, Ted. Sure,
So this is
whatever.
sure, Ted, whatever. Ted Cruz. Ted
So,
Cruz, the biggest bitch around.
man, I'm telling you, this just a freaking snake is just, man. Anyway, so that podcast is definitely it's a circus. Basically I kind of go through and teeter through stuff. But right now I'm working on decline of capitalism is kind of and this is just based on a research theory that I've kind of gone through, drawing a parallel between the cycle of capitalism, how people think that we need to bring back the days of old, when I'm saying no, we need to be progressive about this and change what's not working. So
Yeah, because you tend to hit on a lot of different political issues, so it sounds like you're going into like that political economic
yeah,
standpoints now, where it's like, it's like, oh, we need to go back to like more laissez-faire, but then you're gonna be possibly arguing it's like, well, wait a minute, actually, if we go forward, that's better.
yeah. I mean, this whole progress thing is And what we need to understand about capitalism is it goes through cycles. Every major population has gone through a capitalistic phase, and it ends and starts. You have a top, you have a peak, and then you have the downfall of that. And it's not anything to be alarmed over. You just have to manage it better. I mean, China, they are now coming up to their peak too, which means they're going to experience it. But Britain was a capitalist society at first too, with cotton when it first came out, when it was the first big thing, and they came to a top and they kind of fell down. And so you don't stay down, but you kind of ebb and flows, But if we keep doing the same stuff we've always done, it's never going to get any better, and we're going to definitely be staying in a stunted place like Russia. So
Yeah, I mean, because not to dive way too deep into the political economic
sure,
side of things, but like Russia has always had the issue of like playing catch up, and then they catch up, and then like they keep falling back behind, and it's back and forth with them.
that's it. People say that's communism. No, it's not communism. That's because they're not forward thinking enough to.
The Russians are too drunk to catch up, is what I. That's my theory. It's like
Vodka,
they're a little.
vodka.
The fact that they didn't have beer classified as a hard drink until like it was like the 2000s, I think.
That's amazing to me. That is just
They're like the
amazing.
beer's weak. I'm like, yeah, but you know,
Yeah, the vodka.
with
It's like,
vodka,
okay.
you take vodka and you bust it around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But so I guess now we want to know what makes me going forward. Is that
yeah, because you tend to have a lot of stuff, but like that's kind of like the series you're planning on doing going forward.
yeah? It's part one came out yesterday, so it's up now. Part two will come out next week, and then we'll kind of go there. But going forward, what I would like to do is I'm gonna also start doing what they call I guess series based on traditional things. Going to kind of explain what is a communist, what is communism. And that way, people have a better understanding of establishing definitions that are not hot takes. Because it's one thing to hear, oh, he's a fascist, but what it actually is a fascist? What goes into being a fascist? How that works, and that way people have a basic understanding of that. And that's not opinion, that's fact. Fact is fascist is X, Y, and Z. That kind of thing. I think that'll be really helpful. So I'm going to call it, political essentials.
Yeah, and that would be something that I think some people would definitely be interested because you hear the words thrown out all around all the time. I mean, you see it on every major cable network. It's like, well, they're fascists or they're communists or they're
Yeah,
whatever, but like, or they're socialists. They throw around socialists like it's a bad word, but like the
it
issue
really
is
is.
like, do people actually know what these words mean, or are they just being tricked? Like they're being twisted, so they sound.
Attack
You can
against
make any
America.
word sound like a bad word.
It's attack against America. That's
Attack against America.
well. How's that working out for you, Bubba?
How dare these people walk these dogs, these dog walkers?
How's that working for you? That's uh, and I think that's another thing that we're not quite sure of in this country is that we we have been in war for a long time now, for most of my life, and I don't think we really grasp the gravity of that because we're not bothered by it that much in our everyday life. In the First World War and the Second World War, everybody was pitching in. People were, being drafted. People were, pitching in with the war effort here at home, making munitions, giving whatever. But right now, people still hand me my Starbucks when I go to the drive-thru. People can still get Uber Eats. People can still, go and get that new iPad. There's no repercussion to that, and I think part of being war numb is that it's out of sight, out of mind. Um, and so I think it's important to understand that war is a money making machine, but there's also a decline to that too. So
Yeah, I mean, what was it? I was born in 96, so like literally for most of my infancy, there wasn't any major war going on, and then 9/11 happened, and then we've been in
right,
war ever since. So,
yeah, that's
so,
it.
so that's the thing. I mean, my brother and my sister, they're younger than me, so they grew up like, oh yeah, they've always had this war. They don't
Yeah,
remember 9/11. I mean, granted, I
right,
barely remember 9/11 and stuff like that, but I knew something happened.
right. Yeah, they're not going to talk about the fact that we can't win this war.
And we've
This
been
is not a
saying
winnable
it.
war.
Everybody, I feel like in like with politicians, they like some of them are like they know they can't win the war, so they're like everybody's like we rather not be there, but
The only thing that you can do now is drop a nuke and make it a parking lot, which is definitely
ooh,
not acceptable at all
that's
by any
not.
means. And I don't condone that methodology, but in order to, because we're weeding out terrorism, do you realize we're creating terrorism by being in someone's homeland? and domesticating them.
Don't state the obvious. That might piss people off.
We're cultivating a terroristic mindset by being terrorists ourselves. But let's not talk about that. You're right. Let's not,
don't give away the answers. Let people figure it out. God forbid you tell someone what's the problem and then they're like, well, that can't be it.
That's it.
So I guess we've been doing some political commentary, but why get in? I mean, you have your degrees and your education in that, but why get into like a political commentary type podcast?
Oh man, because I have no friends, no life. No, I'm kidding. It's because
you said it so convincingly too. I'm like, oh, that's sad.
Yeah, there's a lot of static, I think, out there in understanding the difference between. We talked about this, between political news and political commentary, and then because it seems like every political commentary person, they always associate that with humorous. But also, like, there's also a grain of harshness and ruggedry that comes with what I'm doing. It's very raw and emotional in a lot of places, and it's coming from experience, but it's also coming out of frustration in a way because there's all this, like, I guess I want to say sound bites that we live in all the time with what they call the CNN effect. We're constantly bombarded by headlines and this, that, and the other. And so political commentary for me is a way that I can ground myself because it forces me to constantly dove into and go back to what I know, go back to what I know in definitions, go back to it and see how it applies. And my hope is that by people who are listening to that, they're able to not know what to think, but know how to think, how to form arguments and things for themselves, like my teaching style. So it's basically a bigger platform for me to open up my classroom to people and teach them what to look for, how to identify arguments, how to identify aspects, and think politically about the world around them.
Yeah, I mean, that's all like important stuff for people to be critical, especially when like you're being thrown headlines every day or recently, like it's been a little quiet. It hasn't been as busy, but granted, it also depends on where you live. Because I'm in New York, so it's been Cuomo this, Cuomo that, Cuomo should resign, Cuomo
Oh
shouldn't
man,
resign. It's been headlines here lately, and then not to mention some of the crap that goes on the internet, like cancel culture or like culture wars, quote unquote,
yeah.
cancel.
So another hard, unpopular question is that why does Cuomo have to resign for that when Trump didn't resign the presidency when that came out? I mean, we tend to forget, for whatever reason, that people are people, politicians are people, and if you put them on a pedestal, that's your problem. You're already messing up, man. Uh, and I think that I'm not condoning what he did, but I am saying that in a lot of ways, he's not done anything that people in political office hasn't done before that stayed in office. So canceling him or not canceling him, but calling him to resign is not going to happen. One, and two, you are basically just now saying you should resign. So then now you're putting that target on your back too. And, people are going to look harder at what you're doing, which may or may not be a good thing depending on who you are.
Yeah, I mean that does depend on who you are, because that's kind of the new political op-ed. Even Joe Biden's like, well, if these are true, he should resign. But I feel like deep down, because I live in New York and I understand Governor Cuomo pretty well, he wouldn't do it. His main argument is like, I think at the end of the day, his main argument is like, Trump did it, so why should I?
Well, I mean, he has a valid point, but Touchy Joe really shouldn't be commentating on that. Uh, and yeah, I called him Touchy Joe. Like we said before, I come in everybody. Okay, if there's dirt there, I'm going to bring it out. So even he's been accused of that, and so I honestly, he shouldn't use his platform as office of the president. He's got enough to deal with. He's got enough to deal with. And here's a spoiler alert. My prediction for the future: Biden is a centralist who will do nothing but keep the status quo. I said it here first, by the way, folks.
Said it here first. So if you're
said it here first,
you're watching far off into the future and Joe Biden hasn't done anything new or different or better for the country, you know why?
He's a centralist because we're all worried about alienating people and unifying and this, that, and the other. And so we want to gather around the center because we're afraid of upsetting left and right. But there are some things that need to be more progressive, and there's some things that need to be more conservative. And I think it's a good mix of that is what's going to cause us to elevate and lunge further into the future of where we need to be.
Yeah, I mean, people can argue it's like we're going too fast. Other people are like, we need to go back. I mean, that's up for opinions, but there's some things that have to progress and other things that kind of need to stay where they are.
Yeah, that's true. Because they're going to accuse you of being a traditionalist, but there are some things that need to stick. Do I think the filibuster needs to go? No, I don't. It scares me to death that they're thinking about getting rid of that. Is it frustrating? Absolutely, it is, but it's there for a reason.
That's something that like they keep talking about. I feel like if they haven't touched it yet, I know it's coming up, but I'm like, if they don't get rid of it now, it's gonna stay. They're
Oh yeah,
gonna like if they don't get rid of it now, like after the upcoming vote, it's not
it'll
going
stay.
anywhere. It's
Yeah,
gonna stay. But that's just me. I don't have any knowledge of it, but like my understanding based on
the
what
inside
I've read
word.
and understand and knowing track records is that the
You heard
moderate
that first.
Democrats will keep it keep it, the progressives will be mad and everybody will just yell at each other on social media.
Yeah, well, when it comes to political parties, just remember moderacy comes from mediocre. Just gonna put that out there to you guys. That's
Somebody go
you
tell
get
Joe
one.
Manchin right now.
Oh man, I actually went and spoke at a university in his home state when he was governor. And I went to one of his little things when he was like, I'm not gonna run for the Senate. And lo and behold, he nominated himself, gave up the governorship, put himself in the Senate seat, and's been there ever since. So I have no respect for him.
I don't get what he does. I'm like, who are you? Why do you hold everything up? I want my $15 an hour. Thank you very much.
That's that's him because he's comes from a nothing state, and I hate to say that, but he comes from a no name state, unfortunately. Not that they don't matter, but they're just not on the national scope much, and so he senses that he can get a power play in, and so he's going to hold that hostage, and then release some BS news. It's not easy being the linchpin. Oh yeah, it is. You're loving this, man. We see what you're going to do, and I'm not so sure he's not going to use that to his benefit further on in the future.
Yeah, I mean, John Denver gives you a whole song about West Virginia, and this is how
Oh,
you
yeah.
repay him for taking out the mountain mamas.
It's a shame they didn't make that song popular until after he slammed into one of those mountains. But
That's terrible.
I know. See,
But it
this
was
is
so
why
long ago.
it was so long ago. But this is why it's after hours because like some of these things are really just kind of like what?
First off, number one, this is the internet, so there is no such thing as safe harbor hours. And number two, no safe harbor hours. So go nuts.
Go nuts. That's full of those hot takes, man.
It's
That's
just full of hot takes. I mean,
I,
this is the right podcast for hot takes because like most of my hot takes go absolutely nowhere.
I,
I
I I feel like this will not be my last appearance. I hope this has been.
well, let's see.
See the ratings after that song.
We'll see
That
the
guy's a
ratings
nutcase.
later. We'll see what people think. I mean, they'll be like, "Oh my god, it's Zach just one on one." I mean, they're
That
like,
guy's a nutcase.
it's like this guy's a nutcase, and then there's Xavier.
Xavier's the nutcase, though.
uh,
Oh man. So
I've been told I'm a weird man, so sometimes things that I say are just really out from left field, and
but that,
sometimes the things I say are so far left field that they come from the next baseball stadium over.
you run for Congress? Like honestly, think about this. You'd be like the best Bernie Sanders because sometimes some of the things that he says, I'm like, are you even in the same country, man? I have a lot of respect for him.
See, here's the thing: when like the 2020 campaign trail was going on, and I saw Bernie, he was my choice in 2016, but I'm like, he's too old. Let me listen to some of the other people. And then Andrew Yang's like, hey, we should pay people what they deserve, and I'm like, this man, universal basic income, this man. This I don't know where he came from. I don't know what he does, but got
Like
him.
that's I love the man. He does great things, but
And now he's
uh,
running for mayor of New York City, and I'm like, damn, I kind of
un,
want to move
un,
down there just to help him out. Like
he's tough on-
you need me to go to the competitions, rallies and stuff and disrupt them. I'm the weird guy to do that. Just call me the sabotager. I'll make a scene.
they'll call you an erectionist. I mean,
It's like, you dickhead. And I'm like, well, thank you very much. I am a
wow.
directionist. Of according to
I'm surprised Viagra didn't jump on that. That's a selling point.
this is a sponsor deal now. I don't
Like,
know in our demographics who would buy it, but I'm not
I don't
judging.
know.
But
They should have used Chuck Schumer and be like, see, even Congress is talking about us today, guys.
oh my god,
He's hard on for the facts. Like,
they're gonna start selling Viagra to the politicians, but it's like, oh no, it's so you can go and say dumb shit.
yeah. Do you know why I like the old people that we have in our Congress right now, in the Senate specifically? Because we're etching closer to Parliament. And if you've ever watched Parliament, like they really get down. They throw hands in there almost. Like they really, your mom's a whore. Like, I mean, they really just kind of like go in there, man. But then when it's over, when the gavel's done and they walk out, they go have lunch.
Yeah.
But what you don't have is backbiting in the backroom deals, because it's all right there. And I think they got that right.
Yeah, just put it out there in the open. You can say what you want about the British. At least they put it all out there. I mean, for the most part. For the most part, some of them have no clue what's going on. They're like, I just had my tea and crumpets, and it's a great day to be in England. It's been raining for 375 days straight. I don't know what this thing called the sun is, but I'd be glad to see it one day.
Man.
At least like you know, I've been tempted to be like, I've seen Congress, I'm like, you know, if they just let them throw hands, it'd be much better. This is just painful.
It makes me now understand why they had dualism back in, you know, the time of Hamilton and all that. Like, I get it.
I'm just saying, I'm like the dueling, dueling. They're like, it's barbaric, but also see you outside.
Mother, you shot me in the ass. Like, I could do that. Like, but now get it together and shut up. Like, that's exactly it.
I think some days it'd be better if they just brought out like a boxing ring or a wrestling ring, and they just bring it into like the center of the Congress building. Be like, all right, I'm gonna wrestle you. If I win, I get $15 an hour. If not, deals off. You know, like
Dick Durbin with the microphone. Let's get ready to rumble.
Nobody's gonna wrestle with Chuck Schumer. We don't know what's going on over there. Seems a little too excited. Or Lindsey Graham. He seems a little too excited.
And like the costumes they would wear would be like the interest groups that pay them money to vote the way they do lobbyists.
You know, Ted Cruz has like some Wolverine knockoff suit ready to go.
Oh, I'm sure.
With the shitty beard that he has now. Like I have
the pajamas.
I have like facial hair, and I'm like, I'm very critique, but like his just like his face is punchable no matter what.
It is like he just looks like the guy you want to punch, or the nosy neighbor who peeks over the fence.
He's not a fun Ned Flanders. At least Ned Flanders like finds his P's and Q's. This man is like, what the fuck you doing over here? I'm like, Ted, I'm chilling in my backyard. Who invited you?
Why are you here?
Why are you here? Don't you have some glucose lick or eat or whatever? I don't know. There's some paste for you inside in the fridge.
We got a freshman with new craft supplies. Go check out that closet instead. Get out of here.
I went to Hobby Lobby. I know that's one of your favorites. There's some Chick-fil-A sauce if it gets a little too spicy.
Oh, that's right. He has to have Hobby Lobby and Chick-fil-A. That's the only place that he'll shop, because that's truly American and patriotic. Right?
That's really patriotic.
Right, I'm not knocking a good Chick-fil-A spicy sandwich, but I am saying, you know.
Yeah, I don't buy Chick-fil-A. I've had Chick-fil-A, but I didn't buy it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I won't buy it. They won't get $1 of mine. Because if you can't be equal to everybody, then I don't want to give you my money.
I think I bought it once and I had an upset stomach after, but that's because I felt like I betrayed people. So
that regret, the indigestion regret. Yeah.
Is it food poisoning? Nah, it's regret. Even though they gave me extra chicken, they were so nice, but it's a trap, and I know it. But I haven't been back since. So
my favorite was when he was like, my wife was very upset that those text messages got released. Well, if you weren't trying to escape out in the middle of a freaking natural disaster in your hometown or your home state, we wouldn't have this problem.
You know, if Ted Cruz was a smart man, now granted, that's a very big if. That's a big if. If Ted Cruz was a smart man, he would have kept his mouth shut. And he would have just left in the middle of the night. I mean, do you not have money to have your own private jet? I mean, how much do you make in Congress each year, Ted Cruz? He's apparently financially illiterate.
$148,000, in case you're wondering.
He's apparently financially illiterate.
Yeah, well, my thing is, dude, Just apologize or say nothing at all and be done.
Just don't make a scene about it, like
What
just
about Snowflake?
apologize. He blamed it on his daughters, and I'm like, clearly he's a shitty father too.
And then she didn't want to kiss him. Did you see that? Little girl he was trying to kiss. She's like, no.
And then I
Like,
think the worst thing is that he was loading Dasani water into a back of a van, and I'm like, really? Nobody's gonna fucking
no.
drink that.
Yeah, and the Coke was like, hey, we want no part of this, guys.
It's like, can you
want no part of this.
It's like, dude, I know we don't want our water either, but you can't fucking do that shit. The fact that Democrats raised more money for the state of Texas than most Republicans is
I
pretty
have to say, I would have rather melted snow than drink the Dasani that they were giving people. I'll take my chances.
I have some snow that is definitely dirty and has definitely been pissed in, and I would drink that before Dasani. What's it been pissed in by? I have no clue. I don't have any animals in my house.
I don't call myself a water snob by any means, but Dasani is just, it tastes like what I imagine butt to taste like.
Yeah. Dasani's not it.
No.
Every time I've had it, I'm like, what is going on with this one? Like, I feel more dehydrated than before.
And why is it so stinking expensive? Like, I don't.
Why is it expensive? People were like, oh, and some people really like Dasani. They're like, that's all they got. And I'm like, I judge those people harshly.
Right. Well, and I like the label. The label's attractive, but the water is just not.
That's the trap. They get a nice label, and you're like, oh, this is really nice.
You know what I like? Nestle Pure Life. That's good stuff.
There you go. I guess to kind of by the way, start moving towards wrapping up, what do you think is going to happen going forward? And what I mean by that, like this has it, in your opinion, expert opinion, has it been kind of quiet politically? Minus a few things like the whole Cuomo stuff, and then the stimulus bill going through, and then the impeachment trial. There's been a lot of quiet. So do you think it's like everybody just kind of taking like a deep breath after Trump? I know Trump was doing stuff at CPAC and he's starting to move around again, but
I think we got so used to the constant waking up and hearing what's going on with Trump that we're now like, oh man, what is this? It's like just a collective breath. You're right. I think it's a collective breath because there was always something new with what he was saying, something, some new stupidity, something this, something that. But I think we're getting back to what it was to have a decent presidency. What it was, and I won't even say that in a legislative point of view, but I'll say that in just like a common decency. I think we're getting back to a place where there's respect in an office that's more worried about carrying on the business of the day and the business of the country the best way that they can, even if I don't agree with everything they're doing, but less worried about people's opinions, less worried about the appearance of looking tough and intimidating and fearing people into assembling and agreeing on certain points that aren't valid, or even if they are valid. We have decency in the White House again. We have respect in the White House again, and someone who's really trying to do the best that they know how to do to move the country forward. But yeah, I think it's definitely quiet. But going forward, I think we're going to see some more hustle and bustle about the voting rights going on. I think we're going to see how the gerrymandering laws are going to come through. I honestly think we're waiting on the Supreme Court to act on voting first. Before that's going to be the next big bump, I think.
That is going to be that's going to be a big thing. I mean, because I don't know what the last case the Supreme Court has heard before the break, the recess that they had or whatever. But like the Voting Acts Right, people should be watching that one because that could have some serious implications for even for the midterm elections.
Yeah. So I think that's what we're waiting on. That's going to be the next big thing for them. And then, of course, because it's that case at the Supreme Court is dealing with Arizona specifically, but Georgia is also having to pick up that as well. They're working on voter restrictions there. So I think that the only stopping point we have, Congress is going to have to do something to interact with to intervene with these states passing these laws that are allowing legal gerrymandering.
Yeah, because I remember, I think there was one argument being heard. It was this year. It was definitely this year. They're like, well, why do you want to make these laws? And the Republican lawyer said it's because we can't win unless we cheat. Like it was basically that. That's what it sounded like. And it was probably one of those sound bites you were talking about, but I'm like, wait a minute. So you're saying you can't win except for when you like put two weights. When
That's
you tie two cinder blocks to the Democrats' feet, that's how you win. That's not the game.
Yeah, well, the game as they played it before was what happened in 2020, right?
Yeah.
And then when it bit them in the butt, now it's like, oh, well, now we're going to change the rules. You know, we're not going to change the game. We'll change the rules, and so we're going to try and win that way. So, yeah, you're right. Along the lines, is when we can't win by the rules of the game that we created, we're going to change the rules on you.
I mean, could you imagine if the Patriots got to change the rules anytime they were down?
Well, I mean, the ball would never have been deflated. I mean, well,
Or the ball would have been very deflated. I mean,
but that's the way we play the game now. You're supposed to deflate the balls now. Didn't you get the memo? Like, that's how we play the game now.
and everyone's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
I know that's old news, but it's like,
I know.
It's a very valid, idea that, they decided, hey, let's change this up and see what happens.
Yeah, because I know like the Georgia runoffs, like the runoff Senate races were pretty big early this year, but that felt like so long ago.
Yeah, it was just
At this
January.
point, and now
Crazy.
it's like, and then next year we have midterms coming up, and the political ads are going to start up again.
That's the worry is, I mean, we have a lot of things, and then of course we're going to hear more about China, I think, as well. We're worried about China becoming a major power on the map, but again, we've allowed that to be a thing in our failure to want to move forward.
So then there's some stuff going to happen, but
yeah.
if you want to hear about some of these things going to happen, you're going to have to find Xavier on X After Hours. Where can we find you? I found you on Spotify.
You did. So we're on all the major platforms, but if you're not sure where, you can always check out xafterhours.com. It's listed there. There's also a link there that'll get you to the directory of your choice. But we're on all the major directories, so Apple, Spotify, X.
I'll be sure there will definitely be a link to this to your website in the show notes down below. In the description and all that, we'll make sure you got the links there. Any social media, or just go to the website. It has everything.
Oh, yeah. Well, the social medias are on the website as well. But also, if you go to the Twitter, which is at @XAfterHours_, by the way, which I wanted to talk about that, but we'll talk about that later another time. And TikTok as well is also X After Hours, and also Instagram as well as X After Hours. So I was able to secure all of those except for Twitter. So,
I mean, close enough, right? I mean,
but Twitter told me they're going to give it to me.
You can't complain, man. I mean, it's like,
I've been fighting with them for 2 days. They're going to give it to me, but I had to find the person that had the account and it's been inactive. And so
you had to track them down. You have a particular set of skills.
They asked me to send in my information, like ID and like the business license and all that kind of stuff. I was like, it's officially trademarked. Stop. This is mine. So they're like, oh, we didn't expect that.
You pulled a fast one on them. They're like,
yeah. I'm a lawyer. I know these things, man.
Like, yeah, you what authority? It's like, this one. It's called a cease and desist. Give me your shit. It's actually mine now.
I'm taking that.
It's legal piracy, but it's legal.
Taking this over. Look at me. This is my account now. This is my username. I'm colonizing these usernames.
Even though I bought the names, so they're technically mine. Yeah, so thanks so much for coming on for today. I mean, it's a one-on-one. It's pretty simple. Got plenty of screen time going. I mean, I had my camera on the whole time. But I
didn't know there was a camera option. I
keep forgetting to mention that. That's behind the scenes stuff.
Oh,
that's my fault. I'll take the blame on that one. You can give me the L on that one.
That's all right.
I lose 10 points to my house.
Oh no! What are we, negative 30 points now? That's.
Oh no! I had like points from earlier this week. I'm fine. I'll be okay. By the end of the week, I'll be fine. So
it all ends out.
It'll be fine.
You can run a deficit. The country does. Why not you? Thanks, man, for having me.
No problem. That's gonna do it for us. So we could say bye now. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye. I don't know what I'm gonna do for points. I have me and my 11 children to feed. They're not my kids. I just found them. I get tax credits if I have them.